as of today, the southern leg of the Keystone XL pipeline is fully armed and operational. Oil is now flowing. And this is not, by the way, the more controversial northern leg of the Keystone XL pipeline. Still controversial, though. And a lot of the green groups, the green interest groups, are not happy with Barack Obama for allowing the southern leg to exist. We've got some quotes from some of the big ones, like the Sierra Club. The Sierra Club's executive director, Michael Brune, says, "Today's announcement is a painful example of President Obama's all-of-the-above energy plan at work. Polluted air and water, carbon pollution, and the ever-present threat of poisoned drinking water for millions of Texas and Oklahoma families." Bill McKibben of 350.org says, "Expediting KXL south was not the mark of a president who really gets climate change."
See,
they're not happy with him.
So there's something slightly strange about this story, because the southern half had been approved a long time ago. So there was, I think, no chance that it wasn't going to be functional at some point. And they've been fairly happy with President Obama on a couple of recent issues, including what they thought was him delaying the Northern Pipeline. It makes me think that the activists now have some sort of information that he's going to approve the northern half of the Keystone.
And so they're trying to get out in front of it.
Yeah, and because I haven't seen them be that harsh against Obama, who more than deserves it, right, in a long time. Really, really harsh statements. But the one thing they didn't mention, I think, is the most salient point, though, which is that if you think about it, if you don't have the northern half, the whole point was, the talking point that Republicans and unfortunately some Democrats like President Obama would use, his administration would use, is, we need the oil from Canada, and that way we won't be dependent on the Middle East, et cetera, right? And oil prices will be lower here in the United States. But the northern half is not complete. We're not getting the oil from Canada. We're taking the oil from the pipeline in the U.S., in the southern half, and taking it outside of the U.S., okay? The point is to take the oil from the middle and to bring it down through Texas so you can ship it out. So how does that help our independence from the Middle East? How does it help bring lower oil prices to the U.S.? It doesn't. What it helps is multinational corporations, Canadian corporations and otherwise, and doesn't necessarily help the American people at all. And what did President Obama do? The man who's supposed to be a progressive and care about climate change, he approved it without blinking an eye.
Well, and even when the northern leg, if it ever gets finished, that won't, it's not like the people living along the pipeline are like, man, I got 25-cent gasoline. That's not how it works. It's a global market. It still gets sold. People believe the myth that if we simply drill more, then the prices will go downhill here. Well, that's not true. We're producing more oil domestically than we ever have before. But prices aren't $2 a gallon, not $1 a gallon. It's just simply not how it works. It's a fundamental misunderstanding of how this thing works. And I apologize if I get the Scandinavian country wrong. I believe it's Norway. They actually have a system where when you take the oil, the resources of Norway out of the ground, they have this I think it's called a sovereign cash fund or something like that, where they keep a portion and they're spending a very small portion of it, and it is now a massive amount of money. Like, Americans seem to want that. They think that's what we're going to do when we pull the oil out of the ground. They want Norwegian style or Scandinavian style socialism, but instead they're simply pushing for raw capitalism, where we pull the money out of the ground and then just distribute it around the world.
Yeah, so two quick points about that. In the way that Sarah Palin got her popularity in Alaska, she was 80% popular, by the way. That's when part of the reason that McCain selected her was that she did European-style socialism. There's a lot of oil in Alaska, and what she said was, I'm now going to increase the royalties that the oil companies pay to the Alaskan citizens. And so they wound up getting about an extra $1,000 for every family, because they actually kept more of their oil. As in terms of the money that they get from the oil. That was, it turns out, very popular here in the U.S. if you actually do it. But we don't do it because we're run by the corporations, we're run by the donors, we're not run by the voters. And for example, Iran, back in 1950s, when their democratically elected government decided they were going to keep more of their oil, that's right, we did a coup to make sure that guy couldn't do that. We replaced him with a Shah who would then cut deals with Britain and U.S. and get us their oil, but of course not us. It's not like our oil got cheaper. Our companies, the multinational corporations that run the British and U.S. governments, got the Iranian oil, and they destroyed Iranian democracy in the process to do it. So When President Obama says that he's for change, it was one big joke. Look, I'll give the activists in this case a ton of credit because they've slowed the northern half of that Keystone pipeline in a way that I was very surprised by. But in the end, it appears that they're angry today because they realize Obama, for all his talk, is of course he's approved the southern part and it's now operational. And very likely he'll approve the northern part because he doesn't work for us, just like all the other politicians here in the U.S. He works for the donors.
Yeah.